Welcome to the University of Findlay Art and Culture Show. I am your host, Sharinda Welton, and today I am very happy and excited to introduce to you our very special guest, Mr. Joseph Tran. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. We're so excited to have you. You are a nationally and internationally touring performer, and you focus on magic, mentalism, and humor, correct?
And the comedy, yeah.
Comedy, yes.
Yeah.
So right now you're on a national tour.
Yeah, I get to go around to the different state and see a lot of different places every day. And then I fly a lot. And every time I go to the new place, it's like learning English all over again because everyone have a different accent.
Yeah, and a different slang, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's probably like that in Vietnam also. That depending on where you're at, you have different slang in the language.
Yeah, when you go to a different area, they have very different tonality and different accent.
So have you found that in touring in the United States and in other countries that are not Vietnam, do you find that people are comfortable with your accent, or do you find that when you're performing, they're all sitting there kind of squinting, trying to understand what you're saying?
It's funny because sometimes I go out on stage as a comedian, and I just say, "Hello, my name is Joseph, and I'm gonna show you some magic and maybe tell you something funny right now." And then suddenly they get the look like, "Oh no, we have to sit here for 1 hour." And then about a minute later, I go, "I'm just kidding. I don't come from there. I come from Hollywood. Hello." And
it's Hollywood, California, not Hollywood, Florida.
It's from Hollywood, California. This is my real accent. And I do that to kind of get a kick and get a gauge of what the audience is like.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love it.
It's part of my shtick sometimes.
Yeah, and it's great. Because I know the first time I ever saw you perform, you did that. And I was all like, yes, this is going to be awesome. But most of the audience around me was going, oh, we're going to have to think really hard.
It's really great because when I perform at conventions where like the students and the advisors get to see me, the students get to see the magic first, and they get really excited about it, and then they hear the accent, and then they struggle. They kind of go, oh no, well, how are we going to do this? And like I see sighs of relief every time I break the accent and go, "Yeah, I'm just kidding. This is my real accent." And it's funny because it's a little bit of like a social wake up. It's like, hey, it makes people think. And
well, and you have a very special background and story because even though Hollywood is your home, that is not home for your family descendants. You are first generation or second generation? I don't remember.
I think it's first generation when you're the first one to be born in the country.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm first generation here. My parents are from Saigon, Vietnam, and they came when after the Vietnam War, when Saigon fell. My dad was an ARVN for the South Vietnamese Army. He traveled with the U.S. Army. My mom worked for the U.S. Embassy, and they met in the States here. And the rest is history.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very special. And with that, you learned the Vietnamese language at home. And so that has provided you with some really neat opportunities in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So in addition to being a magician, a mentalist, a comedian, you also are a voiceover artist and an actor. So what's really neat is that some people may recognize your voice from video games and not even know it. Tell me about that.
Well, when I grew up, my parents are ballroom dance teachers, so I grew up watching old Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies. So I just gained this love for all things movies. And so I knew I wanted to be in that. I just love the fact that hundreds of people each have different jobs, and they
make this amazing
make this
creation.
product, this one thing. So from there, I studied theater in high school and at college, and
shout out to your college. Who's your alma mater?
Cal State Northridge. What? And also studied multimedia production. which was great because at the time I'm sort of the last generation to know what life was like before Netflix and the internet and everything.
Sure.
So going forth and learning that was really great. And somehow between the acting and the learning of how TV and film works, someone heard me speak and they said, "Hey, can you do that, in front of a microphone?" And I said, "Sure, okay." And then eventually one thing leads to another. He said, "Hey, can you speak Vietnamese?" Yes, I can speak Vietnamese. And next thing you know, I'm in front of a mic. So I started with voiceover-wise. I started as the guy who does the voices for the characters when they like run around and jump. So if you've ever played video games and you've heard your characters go, ugh, ah, ah, ugh, eh. So I am one of the many actors that does all of those sounds, and it's hilarious because you're just in a booth, and on the other side of the booth, there's like 4 or 5 guys watching you just make ridiculous noises. Mm-hmm. And then recently, there was a game about the Vietnam War, and specifically where I played an ARVN. So my dad was an ARVN.
Mm-hmm. So you had a history book right there in your living room?
Yes. And so I came to him to get sort of hire him as my dialect coach. And they loved him so much that the producers ended up hiring him for all the actors, to coach all of the actors. And it was really great because, here I am. I have a huge piece of history right in front of me that I call Dad. And he, not only was he concentrating on the tonalities, but he also concentrated on the lingo of the time. So he's literally changing the lines on the fly. And for me, I had never done literally 100 pages of lines only in Vietnamese. So
it was a daunting task for you.
Yeah, and I wanted to make my dad proud too.
Yeah.
So so one day I'll find myself, pretending that I'm on fire and going, and then another day, I will be yelling things in Vietnamese, "Lưu đạn coi chừng," and every day, every new project is an adventure, and I love it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So you've done the video games, and then you've been in a couple pretty popular films.
Yeah. Well, my big break was for a film called We Were Soldiers. And,
I have it in my collection.
Oh, great.
From before Netflix. So.
Yes. So, I was a theater kid with no camera experience. And Randall Wallace, the gentleman who directed it and who wrote Braveheart, he sort of, plucked me out from an audition video along with Mel Gibson, who was the star of the movie.
Yeah.
And then
it's a really awesome film.
Yeah, it was
and
really
intense.
intense.
Yeah.
I took my mom to the
premiere,
and she loved it because she got to meet all the stars. Mm-hmm. She got to meet Sam Elliott. Tom Selleck was there, so she was, of course, swooning. Mm-hmm. But the movie was really intense.
Just hearing this.
Shoot, I was swooning too, and I worked with these guys for, these guys are so professional, and they can turn it on and off like this. So for me, it was great because it helped me to really let go of the nerves and relax into the role. I'll tell you a secret, I'm really camera shy. I have a lot of stage fright, but with my job, I learn how to fake it every night.
And I remember you mentioning that before, and it's amazing how good people can get at acting.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with for me, the introvert in me also likes to, play different characters, and
it's safe because you have we call it the third eye or the wall,
the fourth wall there.
Yeah, so it's wonderful because you are able to escape or bring to the front a character that maybe you've dreamt of or thought of, but it's safe. And even if it crashes and burns, it's acting. It's not me personal. It's not you personal. So it's a nice safety zone, the stage.
Yeah, and the thing is, especially, of all the TV and film projects I've done since, first of all, if you mess up they can yell cut and start over.
Exactly.
But the other thing is you have to, for every new project, new character, you have to do new homework. And you have to not only come up with a new character, but you have to you have to give that character life with a part of you too.
Yes, yes.
So the introvert in me gets to live that with, but it doesn't have to be me exactly. Very different from what I do on the stage.
Well, and it's like you said, it keeps it fresh for you. It seems that entertainers that only do one thing, I call them one-dimensional, but they start to get tired, they start to get bored, and you sense that in their performance after a while. And when you're doing multiple things, it empowers you to stay fresh, and one thing will give you experience that you can transfer over to another thing and keep it fresh with new characters or new portions, new comedy. So let's segue to that, because we have been talking about screen and would love to get into talking about the theater, because boy, I mean, you shine in film, and we'll talk about your social media here in a little bit.
Okay.
And then after we're done, remind me, I have a story to tell you about your social media. But
I love it.
Yeah. I embarrass
things, I hope.
myself terribly, but we'll talk about that later. But theater, you travel, and I said this, nationally and internationally with your magic show. And you do this at corporate level, you do this in the arts and entertainment of theater, the professional community theaters that pay to bring shows in, and then you do it at college level. Do you do high school?
I do high schools when high schools are, they usually hire me for my speaking program.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but on the collegiate, corporate, and I think you've done some cruise lines also.
I've performed a lot of cruise ships.
You do it
at one
all.
point.
But so we've got magic. You are magic, Mr. Magic. So,
thank you.
What does that look like? What does Joseph Tran's magic show look like? What do you do there?
Well, for me, I love magic. Magic is, it helped to get me out of my shell. It helped me meet people, especially when, in like junior high and high school when I was really, really shy. It helped me to meet girls.
And you have one really special girl, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Hello. Shout out to Lexi. Hello, I miss you. I've been on the road so long. Anyway, so one day I will find myself doing, a big production with a big illusion show with, the lovely dancers and, the whole crew and everything.
What you would envision in Vegas.
Yes, it's like a big Vegas-style show. We do that at theaters across the country, and we sometimes fly, that show, and it's like a rock star show because there's big road cases and everything. It's been on cruise ships and whatnot. And then the college circuit, totally different because I travel alone with 2 suitcases and...
but it's still an amazingly awesome show.
Yeah, I think
it's more intimate.
It is, but it can also play, just as big. And what I've learned is when I have the good fortune of being a part of a place called the Magic Castle in Hollywood.
I was going to get to that, but we can get there right now.
Well, it's one of the meccas of magic of all the world, and
anybody knows about it.
Exactly.
That's in magic.
And when I was 15, I became a junior member there, and I met a lot of my heroes in magic. Yeah, I won like the Young Magician of the Year award, which is huge for a punk kid who didn't have any money to like get a magic set or a
for anyone, that's teacher. A big deal.
Yeah, and
it's an honor.
So now, going back,
sorry.
I just remember. Well, no, it's funny.
I was so excited because I was getting to Magic Castle and you jumped ahead, and I was like, "We got to talk about this."
Well, I love it because when I think about it, it goes in a full circle, and I'll come full circle in a little bit. But to answer your question, coming to that place, it opened up a lot of doors. And a lot of my heroes in magic said that, we love your magic, but we love it more when you start talking and we get to know you a little bit. And so that's what really goes into my college show. And the other thing is, being a college graduate, I get to, I've been there. I've been in their chair, and
You're giving back a little bit, that encouragement, as well as just saying, you can get a college education and still live your dreams.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what side of the couch you're sitting on with some students and families, they're told, you have to go to college, you have to get a degree, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And so they do that, but then they'll come to the office and say, I really want to do this instead. And so then we get to dream with them on how do you take this degree and evolve it into your passion. And you're living the fact that you had the opportunity to pursue a degree in your passion and then continue to live your passion, when so many students, especially in the arts, are told there's no money in it, there's no money in it, there's no money in it. And so they're already defeated before they even try to fight for the degree. So when you come to the campuses and you show them this top-notch professional stellar show, you're also showing them there's money in it, you can do it, and believe in yourself, dream your dream, whatever that may be. And that's all subliminal. But I hear from students on a regular basis that have the passions in the arts, but are pursuing other degrees because of family pressure or where the money's coming from. And so we get to have that conversation of, it's great because this will empower you if you move forward, and you'll be better strength with this, but you can still do your dream.
Absolutely. And what I love about performing at colleges is after the shows, a lot of students have the same questions, and it's never about how did you do that. It's more about, how can I do what you do? Like, how can I do something that I enjoy and whatnot?
The passion.
And really, I've had the good fortune of having a lot of mentors who've always encouraged me and whatnot. But I know that it's very hard, especially when a lot of minority students, international students come up to me and they said, hey, we want to do this, but we can't. And I tell them, like, listen, I'm living proof that you can. And in one of my college shows, we call it, my wife, my co-writer and I, we call it Woke and Broke. And really it was a magic and inspirational speaking show all rolled into one, because I took all the questions that students had asked me for years. I took things that they were worried about. I took things that the challenges that they go through, the differences between the challenges today and the challenges of previous generations, and we combined that. So it's like a magic and a comedy and like almost a life coaching show all rolled into one.
But you haven't lost the audience that is the professor, the advisor, that have been part of the of the students and where they're at.
And I think that, I've learned in magic that you become a better performer when you learn how to teach, how to share your knowledge, which is, people don't think of that with magicians because secrecy is such a huge element of what we do. But, by sharing my knowledge and my experience, not only with the next generation of magicians, but with college students, with anybody who wants to learn what I do, I'm just really giving back to the universe, because a lot of people to help me to get to where I am today. So really that show, and really nowadays any show that I do at the colleges, I try to put something that makes the show come full circle, and some kind of catharsis in the show. So not only do students and families and even corporate professionals, not only do they get entertained, but they walk away with something that makes them think.
A takeaway.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's taken many years to come to that, but all of those years of trial and error, all the successes, all the mistakes that I tell everyone, whether they're 13 or 30, that is part of the hallmark of growing up, that we cannot make
it's the
all the
evolution,
perfect choices all the time, and all of the things that we go through help shape who we are.
Some catalyze, some paralyze. We get to make a choice on which direction we're going to go.
Yeah.
So with magic, you do the big shows, you do the intimate shows, but then there's street magic, close-up magic. There's all kinds of magic. What would you say your absolute favorite is?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question, because I love
Each has its own highlight, I'm
magic
sure.
in general. I started out with close-up magic, and so that will always have, the first and foremost in my heart, because my pappy, he taught me my very first magic trick, and I would show my mom these card tricks, and I was awful at it, and she would always be like, "Oh my God, that's really great," like any great parent would do. But then I had a free library book and an old deck of cards that I used so much they would wear down to like they were noodles, but I would literally go to my junior high friends, the high school kids, people I didn't know, just anyone who was willing to watch my magic. And I
You were hooked.
I love it. Well, because with street magic, with close-up magic, it's such an intimate affair, and whether
the concentration is right there.
Yeah, and whether
You're
it's
connecting.
like a little kid or a dignitary, like everyone has the same raw reaction to magic. That especially when it happens right in front of their faces. If you look at my Instagram or something, I post on my story. I like to give a lot of my audiences the camera and then do close-up magic, because they get to sort of film and show show my followers like what happens when you're right there. But a stage show, it's a totally different feeling, because I love being a part of a team and having a collective and having like really talented people all work towards a show with my name on it. I'm honored with that, and to go out and see these big lights and then hear the crowd go, it hits a totally different part, in me. And when you hit that stage, it goes back to, vaudeville or something, where you take that bow and you can feel that in every fiber of your being.
You've given so much to them, but yet they're giving you so much back.
Yeah. It's
it's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it, but if you've experienced it, you never go back.
Well, that's a lot of times I tell students, because they ask me, so how do you do this job if you are camera shy, if you have so much stage fright? And I tell them that, the feeling that you get when you
The reward.
when you make people go, and oh my God, that feeling that you get is unparalleled.
Yeah. I have a mentor, Eddie Brill. He's a stand-up comedian, and one thing that he told me that it was an aha moment, because I really struggle with stage fright also. And he said, don't get in your head. Okay, I won't get in my head. Easier said than done. But he added a little caveat to it, and I absolutely love it. He said, don't get in your head, because the people that are paying to see you believe in you. They're not paying to see you fail. They're paying to see you succeed. The only one that's going to cause you to fail is you getting in your own head. And I was like, okay.
That is amazing advice.
It totally gave me permission to just focus and to give and not worry about the response, because they've already come with their response ready, unless it's billed a certain way where they're supposed to go a certain direction. But then you as the entertainer know that. And I just absolutely value that so much.
Honestly, I wish I had learned that way sooner in life. That because I still get nervous to this day. But
Oh, I still get nervous, but when it happens now to the point where it starts to almost feel paralyzed, I just hear him say, don't get in your head.
Yes. And honestly, everything that I do, when I was younger, I as a performer, I would try to figure out, who does the audience want me to be? When I'd go audition for roles, I would be really nervous because
that's the job.
I have casting directors watching me, and I'm thinking, who do they want me to be?
Right.
But that is perfect advice, because I've learned a little later in life that when I go on the stage, the people that I perform for, they are there to see you, so they want to see me. A casting director is I try to tell other actors, they are not your enemy. They want you to win. Exactly. They want to be your champion, and is the role right for you?
Something got their attention with that.
So
headshot.
you just got to go in and you've got to do your work. You've got to be the best you can be, but you also got to roll the punches, and that's perfect advice. Like everybody that is there to see you wants you to win, wants you to be you. So it took me the longest time to realize I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. And I think that's my ultimate shtick with being on the stage.
Yeah. Well, and it even goes with what you were saying before, when you're creating other characters.
Yeah.
You're investing a little bit of yourself into that. You're still owning something as you give that character life.
Yeah, the accent, for example, when I walk on stage.
You were such a good sport for
like
starting the interview that way. Thank you for that. That was fun. I actually put him on the spot right before we went on. I said, when you do that live, it is so much fun. And so thank you for doing that.
Oh, happy to do it. Literally, it was like 2 seconds before. Literally. We're ready to roll. Can you do the voice? What? Hello. Yeah,
Let's
it's okay.
do improv now.
I did that because some audience members, after my show one night, they came up to me and said, "Hey, we really, really enjoyed your show." And I said, well, thank you. And they said, "We really wanted to meet you in person." And I said, "Oh, well, thank you." And then they said, "So, are you that kid from the Goonies?" And then my ego went, and I remember the very next show. This was actually at the Magic Castle, actually. The very next show, I walked out and I was like, "Hello, my name is Joseph." I'm just kidding. I don't speak like that. And it got a huge laugh. And then the MC said, "You have to do that like every time now."
That's your
and it's
line.
it happened because when that happened, where they thought I was somebody else. Who actually came to the show that's a crazy story in itself. But it was so ridiculous that the goofiness in me just kind of came out. And there was another situation where somebody who I really admired, somebody with decades of experience, said, "You got to do that. You got to be who you are. And if you just did that naturally, go for it." So
yeah.
So going back to that story, so the just last year, again at the Magic Castle, I was doing that bit. "Hello, my name is Joseph," and after that bit, sometimes I go, "By the way, I know what you're thinking, but no, I am not that kid from Indiana Jones." And then I show a picture of that, and we actually look alike. So after the show, a few folks called me over and they said, "Hey, we really want you to meet someone." And they parted ways, and behind them was that guy. That guy from Jonathan Kiwan, his name was. A totally nice guy. And I was literally standing in front of my doppelganger.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hi, do you know who I am?" And we had a huge laugh, gave him a big hug.
Got pictures?
He actually said, "So do you want a picture?" And usually we're not allowed to take pictures at the Magic Castle.
Right.
But it was such a unique moment that the hosts were like, "No, it's okay." And I was like, "Yeah, I want a picture because no one is going to believe this happened unless I get a photo." And to this day, it was one of the wildest crazy moments, because here I am. I've been doing this bit, because of him for years, and then at random, there he is, the show where the bit was born.
Yeah, that's so awesome. You gotta love it when those things happen.
Variety, spice of life, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. So, you mentioned that you also do motivational speaking. And so someone that is watching may have heard something that we've chatted about today, and they're like, oh, I want to get in touch with him for this particular reason. Are you self-represented, or do you work with different agents for different areas? I know entertainers all do it a little differently. Or are there social media locations that you could share with people so they can check out your different avenues and fortes of talent?
Absolutely. Well, I do have a lot of agents, for acting, and then the voiceover, and the cruise ships, and the colleges, and the corporate. One of my agents says, one of the agents says, you have a lot of people leeching off your talent. And I said, well, you guys, there's only one of me. And so when I'm flying around, there's a lot of people helping to make it look like I am at many places at once. But at the same time,
which means don't ask for discounts. You need that money to pay these people.
Yes. Unless they're okay with it too. Plus, I come from Los Angeles, and shoot,
everything's higher there. Yeah.
But
you're up to like $25 a gallon for gas, right?
Yeah. And then here, your gas is
1970s.
Oh man. Let's just say our gas is like double.
Yeah.
And I wish I could take some of your gas prices home with me. Just carrying the fuel in the plane with me. But at the same time, especially for my speaking programs, what I tell students is, again, a lot of people helped me to get to where I am today. So I always want to be able to give back to the universe. So yes, I have representatives, and they help me book my shows and everything. But I tell people I'm only a Google search away, and especially if you have questions about, my job and my career and how I've done things and things in your lives that you heard in my show that is a parallel to your lives. I tell folks, please feel free to contact me directly. And sometimes when I'm touring, and if I'm
overseas,
it
might be a little slower with
or anything, it might take me
yeah.
a little bit of time, but I always try to respond to everyone because I always want to be as accessible as I can to everyone. My mentor said, if people come to see you and they want to know more about you, or they want they want some insight on what you do, be as accessible as you can. And I've always taken that to heart. So Joseph Tran. I'm just a Google search away. JosephTran.com is my website. If you want to just, look at my fan stuff, my YouTube videos, whatever, JosephTran.ninja. This is where I combine everything. I have an Insta. It's @JosephTran. Twitter. It's @JosephTran. And then Facebook, YouTube, The Joseph Tran Show. I'm everywhere. So it's easy to find me.
And you'll find all the different characters. All the different characters
Yes,
are out there.
yeah.
So be willing to see everything to find what you're looking for.
Yes. And it's sort of a chronicle of my work, everything from the stage to what I've done on the screen. To what my team and I did for YouTube. We did something called Reasons Not to Date a Magician. We produced it with my wife, actually.
And that's what I was alluding to earlier.
Figured you were.
Yes. There are some fun segments on there, but oh my goodness, a couple of them I was not mentally prepared for. And I was showing, after the students signed you to perform here at the university last year, I went out, and I always tell my students, check your videos before you show them in meetings. Check your videos before you show them in meetings. Make sure that they're appropriate. Make sure they're PG-13. And because of some of our international students, the populations are not to be, so men cannot be with women if certain content is shown or innuendo of content is shown. well, because I'm the professional that I am and because I'm so confident in what I do, I was running late for a meeting, but I knew that I needed to pull up a clip because the students had asked me to do that because they were busy with class, and I pulled up a clip out of your not to do,
Oh, no,
what to do. Oh my gosh.
You pulled not my show clip, but my web series clip.
Right.
Oh no.
So, and I put it up and I pressed play, and I'm like, turn it off, turn it off. I'm so sorry. My eyes were watering, my face was red, and I was apologizing to my students. And I was like, this is what you not do. Don't ever post something without reviewing it first. I'm not practicing what I preach, and I am paying a price for it. And of course, the students were just roaring.
I was going to say, how did they like the episode?
They were reacting more to me being so embarrassed. So, but anyways, yeah, I was going to tell you off campus or off set, but oh my goodness. So yeah, there's a lot of content out there, and it really didn't show anything. It was just the innuendo that caught everybody.
It was for the comedy of it, and next time you pull a video, make sure it says like demo reel on it or show reel. And
thanks, Joseph. I'll do that next time. Believe me, I have never posted a video since then in a meeting without double checking it beforehand.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? That video might have gotten me here, so thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it has been an honor to be able to sit down and visit with you for a little bit. I know you're a very busy man, and you were in New Jersey this morning, and you were in Flint the day before, and you're just going all over the place. And so for you to be able to carve a little bit of time in to come to the Art and Culture Show and to visit with our viewers, thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you for practicing the accessibility. That's awesome. So.
Well, thank you for your hospitality. You are amazing. I get a shot at being interviewed by the amazing Sharinda Welton. And this campus has been amazing. I am so excited for the show.
Thank you.
And I can't wait. Please come see the show. It'll be great times.
So thank you so much for being with us today, and we look forward to our next segment. Until then, be well.